He can pull it off. Unbelievable. That'll be 4 champs, 2 interims and 2 legit, well 3 legit now with Tom being promoted from the UK that have become champions. And for Justin Gaethje, this is the final go. This is the final crack of the whip. The man's had 2 title fights in the past, Charles Oliveira to Khabib Nurmagomedov, and now he gets to go up against Paddy.
I am not saying that Paddy deserves this more than Arman, but I'm just saying because he hasn't fought, because Ilya hasn't fought, and I suspect they want to get into a training camp. If they haven't even started one already, I suspect they're going to want to announce this, get rolling with the promotion. There's a lot of history there, and you have Arman sit in the front row, and you say he is next. Like, let's get some decorum here. Let's start figuring out who's next.
The UFC just made a decision that's about to tear the lightweight division apart. We're talking about Justin Gaethje versus Paddy Pimblett for the interim lightweight title, and the MMA world is absolutely losing its mind over this matchup. This isn't just another fight announcement. This is the UFC choosing entertainment over rankings, hype over merit, and it's got legends, champions, and top contenders all picking sides in what's becoming the most controversial title fight booking in recent memory. And here's the wild part. Everyone from Tony Ferguson to Daniel Cormier is weighing in, and their predictions are completely split down the middle.
Bad. He's very beatable, and Gaethje's very beatable as well. But when it goes into the passion and how upsetting Justin Gaethje has always been about not getting that real title shot, and they just keep dangling it right there again. Paddy's in for a new treat, right? Paddy's the one that's never fought for a belt. He's going in there. He's going to be trying to, get that stuff. He's going to feel a little bit more fresher. He's going to have that little bit of excitedness in my opinion.
Tony Ferguson, the former interim champion who knows a thing or two about getting screwed over by UFC politics, immediately came out swinging in favor of Gaethje. And Tony didn't just give some generic endorsement. He got deep into the psychology of what makes fighters dangerous. According to El Kukai, Justin Gaethje has been through absolute wars that would break most men. We're talking about the kind of fights where you question if someone's going to walk out of the octagon on their own 2 feet. Ferguson argued that Gaethje's relentless drive doesn't come from some manufactured hype or social media following. It comes from pure suffering, from being tested in the fire against killers like Tony himself, Dustin Poirier, and Michael Chandler. Meanwhile, Paddy's riding high on momentum, but Ferguson's point is brutal and simple. When that cage door locks and the lights get bright, Paddy's never felt the kind of pressure that comes from knowing one mistake could end your title dreams forever. Tony's seen both sides of that coin, and he's betting on the guy who's already survived it.
Fight not happening. It's Justin or Paddy now. Paddy got to get past Justin. Justin's a tough fight, bro. I don't know. A lot of people sleeping on Justin on the Paddy fight, which is mixed.
But then another voice jumped into this debate, and this person absolutely went off on everyone sleeping on Gaethje's true abilities. This analyst pointed out something that's honestly mind-blowing when you think about it. Justin Gaethje has been so consistently violent, so reliably explosive, that people are actually getting bored of his brilliance. Think about that for a second. We're talking about a fighter who's never been in a boring fight, who turns every octagon appearance into a potential fight of the year candidate, and somehow people are overlooking him because his greatness has become predictable. This supporter emphasized that Gaethje doesn't just fight, he represents surgical brutality. And here's where it gets really interesting. When fights get messy, when things go sideways and turn into absolute chaos, that's when Gaethje becomes most dangerous. While other fighters wilt under pressure, Gaethje feeds off it. He grows stronger when the stakes get higher, more focused when everything's on the line. The problem is, his extraordinary talent has been on display for so long that fans are treating world-class violence like it's routine.
I want him to win, this guy, I hate him. But I hope Justin Gaethje not gonna drink, party, gonna train, dedicate himself, be focused. It's his last chance in this life. He was fighting for the title maybe 5 times. So this is his chance, and the end of his career, win the interim title, fight for the real title, and then retire. That's the best for him.
Then Arman Tsarukyan entered the conversation, and let me tell you, he came with receipts and absolutely zero chill. Arman's got his own beef with this entire situation because, let's be honest, he should probably be in this title fight himself. But his animosity toward Paddy made him throw his full support behind Gaethje, and he didn't hold back. Tsarukyan laid out the facts that nobody wants to acknowledge. Justin Gaethje is the only fighter in this matchup who's consistently beaten ranked opponents and actually earned his spot through merit. While Paddy's been building his brand and collecting highlight reels against unranked fighters, Gaethje has been going to war with the division's elite. But Arman didn't stop there. He went straight for Paddy's weaknesses, claiming that all the hype and social media buzz has blinded people to the glaring holes in Pimblett's game. According to Tsarakian, Geith is going to expose every single vulnerability through relentless pressure, and it's not going to be pretty. Then Arman dropped the ultimate disrespect. He offered to fight Paddy himself just to help him prepare, basically treating the Liverpool native like he needs all the help he can get.
Taken down. Will he dance around the octagon? Yes, he will. Will he try and replicate the game plan of Max Holloway? Of course he will. Who wouldn't try and do that? You aren't going to stand and go toe-to-toe with Justin Gaethje because the man does have knockout power. But underestimate Paddy at your peril. That's all I'll say about that one, but that is it.
But hold up, because not everyone's buying into the Geith hype train. Michael Bisping, the former middleweight champion who knows a thing or two about being underestimated, came out with a completely different perspective that honestly makes a lot of sense. Bisping warned everyone that sleeping on Paddy Pimblett is a massive mistake, and his reasoning goes way deeper than just hype and charisma. According to the Count, Paddy's timing is absolutely elite. His movement is unpredictable in ways that can frustrate even seasoned veterans, and most importantly, he's showing continuous growth as a fighter. Bisping pointed out that people get so caught up in personality and social media following that they forget to actually watch what's happening in the octagon. He believes Paddy has legitimate skills both standing and on the ground that could genuinely surprise anyone expecting an easy night. The key word there is surprise, because in MMA, the moment you underestimate someone's abilities, that's when you wake up staring at the ceiling wondering what truck hit you.
Pull it off, unbelievable. That'll be 4 champs, 2 interims and 2 legit, well 3 legit now with Tom being promoted from the UK that have become champions. And for Justin Gaethje, this is the final go. This is the final crack of the whip. The man's had 2 title fights in the past, Charles Oliveira to Khabib Nurmagomedov, and now he gets to go up against
Bisping also dropped some serious wisdom about the mental warfare that's about to play out in this fight. He pointed out that Justin Gaethje is facing enormous pressure heading into this bout, and it might be the kind of pressure that breaks fighters. This could legitimately be Gaethje's last real shot at UFC gold, and that kind of desperation can make even the most experienced fighters do stupid things. Bisping, drawing from his own championship experience, knows exactly how that weight feels when you realize time is running out. When you know another loss could end your title dreams forever, it creates a dangerous sense of urgency. He stressed that Gaethje absolutely must stay composed and resist the urge to throw caution to the wind too early in the fight. Because here's the thing, that internal mental burden can become an invisible opponent that's just as dangerous as the person standing across the octagon. If Gaethje lets desperation creep in, if he starts swinging for the fences too early, it could give Paddy openings to steal rounds or create the kind of chaos that completely flips the script.
But I reckon Pimblett's going to win. He keeps at very good range, keeps his distance a lot, doesn't get caught up in the pocket too much, throws in volume when he does throw a lot of the time with his 1-2, 1-2, and then a jump knee, and a lot of dynamics things that can get the better of Gaethje. Plus, he's going to mix in the takedowns. And Gaethje's getting up there in his career. He's just going through more and more wars, more and more scraps, a ton of time off. Pimblett coming into his prime, has been in shape for a while for this matchup as well.
And get this, Bisping went even deeper into the tactical breakdown, explaining exactly how Paddy could exploit Gaethje's aggressive style. For all of Justin's power and intimidation factor, he's got a well-documented tendency to leave defensive gaps when he commits to his devastating strikes. It's the classic trade-off of high-risk, high-reward fighting. When Gaethje goes for the kill shot, when he puts everything behind those leg kicks and haymakers, he creates windows of vulnerability that a precise striker can capitalize on. Bisping believes that if Paddy stays patient, if he can resist the urge to get drawn into a wild brawl, he's got the technical skills to find those openings and land fight-changing shots. It's not about matching Gaethje's power, it's about being smarter, more tactical, and picking the right moments to strike.
Justin Gaethje against Paddy Pimblett, me against Islam. Once I pass him, I get the title, and you put me against Paddy.
You think Paddy's going to beat Justin Gaethje?
Easy.
That's a crazy thing to say because Justin Gaethje, animal.
Yeah, but he doesn't know how to grapple, and Paddy knows
But
that.
he's a Division I wrestler. He knows how to grapple. You don't think he knows how to grapple? He just...
Now here's where things get absolutely wild. Ilia Topuria, the current featherweight champion who's got his own complicated history with Paddy, shocked everyone by actually supporting Pimblett in this matchup. And we're talking about a guy who's supposed to hate Paddy's guts. But Topuria's analysis was purely technical, and it's honestly pretty compelling. He pointed out that Paddy's striking has evolved significantly over his UFC run, and he's developed the precision and timing to land meaningful shots against even elite competition. Topuria specifically mentioned that Gaethje's all-out fighting style, while entertaining as hell, creates significant openings during his intense exchanges. If Paddy can stay disciplined, if he can resist getting drawn into a phone booth war, he's got the technical ability to find those gaps and capitalize. Coming from someone of Topuria's caliber, someone who's not exactly known for giving out compliments, this endorsement carries serious weight. He basically said that stylistically, this matchup might favor Paddy more than people realize.
I am not saying that Paddy deserves this more than Arman, but I'm just saying because he hasn't fought, because Ilya hasn't fought, and I suspect they want to get into a training camp. If they haven't even started one already, I suspect they're going to want to announce this, get rolling with the promotion. There's a lot of history there, and you have Arman sit in the front row, and you say he is next. Like, let's get some decorum here. Let's start figuring out who's next.
But while fighters are debating the merits of this specific matchup, the real controversy is exploding behind the scenes. Ariel Helwani, the most influential journalist in MMA, absolutely went nuclear on the UFC's matchmaking decision. And Ariel didn't just question the choice, he completely dismantled the logic behind it. According to Helwani, this entire situation represents everything wrong with modern UFC matchmaking, where narrative and profit potential trump genuine competitive merit. He argued that the UFC is prioritizing the developing rivalry between Paddy and Topuria over actually giving fans the fights they deserve based on rankings. Ariel's point is devastating in its simplicity. If you're going to have rankings, if you're going to pretend this sport operates on meritocracy, then the most deserving fighters should get title shots. Period. The fact that Arman Tsarukyan, who's clearly earned his spot through legitimate victories over ranked opponents, is sitting on the sidelines while this circus plays out is absolutely unacceptable to hardcore fans who follow the sport for its competitive integrity.
Headline an interim title fight over that one. How are you going to put that beneath an interim title fight? And an interim title fight, once again, that does not feature...
Helwani then dropped an even more damaging critique that cuts to the heart of what's wrong with modern MMA. He argued that rankings become completely meaningless if the UFC consistently ignores them for marketing reasons. What's the point of having a structured system if it gets thrown out the window whenever the promotion wants to chase a bigger payday? The lightweight division is absolutely stacked with legitimate contenders who have earned their spots through blood, sweat, and devastating performances. When those fighters get passed over for someone who's generated more social media buzz, it sends a message that winning fights matters less than building your brand. Helwani expressed serious concern that this approach inevitably leads to divisions becoming mudded and complicated, where legitimate contenders never know if their hard work will actually be rewarded. It's a system that punishes fighters for focusing on fighting instead of becoming social media influencers.
Event, 5-round, number one contender fight, Ilya versus Arman, second half of the year. What's the problem with that? And now what you just said, because he reiterated this in the Instagram Live, the winner of this fight is going to fight Ilya. What happens to Arman? Arman's going to have to fight who? What is going on? What does Arman Tsarukyan have to do to get a shot at the belt now? I know he had the fight back in January. He got hurt. Sue the guy. He sat patiently. He went out there. He steamrolled right through Dan Hooker. He did exactly what he had to do. He did what Khamzat and Islam did not do. He finished his opponent on the ground in dominant, impressive fashion. And now what is he? Now he's just floating in the wind. And he's not even next to...
And here's where Helwani really twisted the knife. He pointed out that if it wasn't for Ilia Topuria's scheduling issues and personal complications, the rightful interim title fight would have been Topuria versus Tsarukyan, no question. Both of those fighters earned their positions through legitimate, hard-fought victories against ranked opponents, not through viral TikTok videos or press conference soundbites. Helwani argued that sidelining fighters who have earned their spots purely on merit inevitably transforms the entire division into a popularity contest rather than a legitimate sporting competition. By inserting Paddy into this interim title picture, the UFC is explicitly choosing entertainment value over competitive legitimacy, and that decision troubles loyal fans who follow the sport primarily for its authenticity. The message being sent is clear. If you want a title shot, focus less on beating elite fighters and more on building your social media following.
Oh, then we go, man, the way he beat Chandler, we've never seen that before. But Ilya's a different beast. He's a savage. But so is Arman Tsarukyan. I believe that Arman versus Ilya is the fight, man. 100%. From the interactions they have, the way that you can tell that those guys don't like each other. Ilya said he slapped him the other day. Arman said he touched his face, and now he's saying he slapped him. It's easy to build a fight between these two, because when you build a fight between these two, you feel...
Daniel Cormier, the former two-division champion who knows exactly what it takes to reach the top of multiple weight classes, completely agreed with Helwani's assessment. DC didn't mince words. He stated emphatically that Topuria versus Tsarukyan should have been the only acceptable interim title fight. His reasoning goes beyond just this one decision and touches on the long-term health of the sport. When deserving contenders who have worked their way up through the ranks get passed over for commercial reasons, it damages the overall credibility of the entire division. Cormier emphasized that merit should always be paramount in title matchmaking, because once you start prioritizing spectacle over substance, the championship belts themselves begin to lose their value. Think about it from a fighter's perspective. If you know that winning fights against tough opponents matters less than generating buzz on social media, why would you take the hard fights? Why would you risk your ranking against dangerous opponents when you could build your brand against easier competition? DC's concern is that this approach ultimately harms the entire division by incentivizing the wrong behaviors.
I think Paddy would have a good chance to keep it past a round or two, because he's not going to engage, I think, as much as Oliveira did, and we all found out how Oliveira would do if that right hand left hook lands. But ultimately, I think Topuria, it's not as big of a mismatch as most people think, but it's definitely a mismatch, and that's just because we're talking Ilya Topuria.
Michael Chandler, never one to shy away from controversial takes, added another layer to this debate that's honestly pretty brutal. He pointed out that if Paddy somehow manages to win this interim title fight, it would set up the easiest possible title defense for Ilya Topuria when they eventually fight for the undisputed championship. Chandler didn't hold back. He described the gap in physicality, striking skill, and overall experience between Topuria and Pimblett as absolutely enormous. We're talking about a mismatch that would barely look competitive on paper, let alone in the actual octagon. Multiple analysts have echoed this concern, suggesting that a potential Topuria versus Pimblett championship bout would be less of a fight and more of a gift-wrapped title defense for the reigning champion. It's the kind of mismatch that does nothing to advance the division's competitive landscape and everything to pad a champion's resume with an easy victory.
By far, the best performance of Arman Tsarukyan's career. We hadn't seen him since April of 2024. We were supposed to see him at the beginning of this year. It all fell apart. I don't know what happened. Back injury, bad weight cut, whatever the actual reason was, I don't know. What I do know is that guy who you just saw there at 155 pounds, and that means I'm excluding Islam from this conversation for the present moment. That is by far.
Chandler also addressed a common misconception that's been floating around the MMA community. He told people to stop treating Justin Gaethje like he's some kind of heavyweight powerhouse just because he hits incredibly hard. While nobody's questioning Gaethje's knockout power, Chandler reminded everyone that he's still a lightweight, and there are levels to this game even within the same weight class. He then made a statement that's going to ruffle some feathers. According to Chandler, Arman Tsarukyan represents the only legitimate threat to Ilya Topuria's reign, and the UFC is wasting valuable time on matchups that don't address the real competitive questions in the division. Chandler specifically highlighted Sarakian's superior wrestling base, his relentless pace, and his ability to stay composed under pressure as attributes that could genuinely push Topuria into uncomfortable situations. While Geith versus Paddy might provide entertainment value and guaranteed fireworks, it completely fails to resolve the pressing title picture that the division actually needs answered.
Easier because they know that he's gonna lose to Ilya. Better like to do interim title and make something like a bigger than, because if he has no title, he's fighting for the title. He's not that big, but when he gonna be, I hope he's not gonna be a champion, but like UFC think he's gonna be a champion and he's gonna fight for the real belt with Ilya. That time he's gonna be superstar and they can sell more pay-per-views or whatever they do.
But here's where things get really interesting. Arman Tsarukyan himself weighed back into this conversation, and his response was honestly pretty mature given how much he's getting screwed over. With a resigned tone that suggested he's seen this movie before, Arman basically said, "This is nothing new." He acknowledged that he understands the harsh realities of UFC business. The organization prioritizes views and compelling narratives above everything else. And there's no denying that Paddy Pimblett is a massive star who generates widespread public interest. Sarakian mentioned that while he grasps the reasoning behind the decision, he still fundamentally disagrees with it from a competitive standpoint. His acceptance of the situation is almost more damaging than if he had thrown a tantrum, because it shows how normalized this type of matchmaking has become. When legitimate contenders expect to get passed over for business reasons, it reveals just how far the sport has moved away from pure meritocracy.
Pimblett and to bring him to fight for the title with Topuria as a bigger name and make it like a big fight, like a kind of Khabib versus Conor, but they're not even if he got the belt.
That he was one of the few men in this division that wanted to fight you. I'm curious, how many options did you have for this card, and is it true? Is he one of the few that said yes to fighting you?
No, he's the only one who said yes from deserver fighters, and I supposed to fight with Gage as well. He said.
Just levitated his way into an interim title shot, which is insane, but fair enough. As an Englishman, I'm all on board with this. But, you know, it is what it is. I think he'll beat Gaethje, but let it be known, Gaethje said, I'm not fighting ever again, and I'll retire if you don't give me a title shot. And bent the knee. They bent the knee to Justin Gaethje and just gave him what he wanted through him threatening to retire after beating Fiziev on short notice. Are you hearing what I'm...
And now we get to the really juicy part. An unconfirmed source speaking off the record revealed the UFC's master plan, and it's honestly pretty brilliant from a business perspective, even if it's infuriating from a sporting one. According to this insider, the promotion is actively trying to craft Paddy Pimblett and Ilia Topuria into the next mega rivalry, something comparable to the legendary Conor McGregor versus Khabib Nurmagomedov feud that broke pay-per-view records and transcended the sport. The UFC sees immense financial potential in this storyline and wants to milk it for maximum impact. This means we can expect future matchmaking decisions within the lightweight division to follow this same pattern, where entertainment value and marketability consistently eclipse strict ranking systems and competitive merit. It's a calculated business-first approach that prioritizes long-term narrative building over immediate sporting legitimacy. So there you have it. The UFC just created one of the most controversial interim title fights in recent memory, splitting the MMA community right down the middle between those who want pure competition and those who understand the business realities of modern mixed martial arts. We've got legends like Tony Ferguson and Daniel Cormier on opposite sides, current champions weighing in with technical breakdowns, and journalists calling out the entire system. This isn't just about one fight anymore, it's about the future direction of the sport, and whether rankings actually matter when push comes to shove. So here's my question for you, drop it in the comments. Do you think the UFC made the right call prioritizing entertainment over rankings? Or is this the kind of decision that damages the sport's credibility long-term? If this breakdown helped you understand all the drama behind this matchup, smash that like button, subscribe for more MMA analysis that goes beyond the surface, and hit that notification bell because this lightweight title situation is about to get even more complicated. I'll see you in the next one.